Welcome to this session of Ignite Talks. We have a round of 9 speakers this morning and a surprise at the end, so stick around for that. They have met the challenge of enlightening us, but making it quick. So they will have 5 minutes and 20 slides to share their stories and projects with us. And just as beauty is in the eye of the beholder, enlightenment in this setting is in the minds and in the hearts of the listener. So open your minds and let yourself be ignited. Welcome up.
Okay. Very good morning. So I would like to tell you about a partnership that you heard that Deborah was mentioning in her speech, and this is actually a little typo in the slide before. So we may not be sure where are we going, but we definitely are going together. So no question mark after together. My name is Rafał Kramza. I am a project coordination manager at IFLA. I joined the remarkable IFLA team at the beginning of this year, and I would like to tell you first what we are not going to tell you about, speaking about our partnership. So we're not going to tell you about the world that is changing and how new technologies are accelerating social change in an unprecedented pace, because you all know that. So we also will not tell you about the ever-growing globalization and the new challenges that are resulting from this globalization, like social disparities, migration, demographic shifts. We're also not going to tell you how does it impact libraries and these new challenges and changes, how they recreate and reevaluate the idea of libraries, because again, you're a Smart Next Library audience, so you probably know all about that. But we will tell you about the new partnership on the library scene, which has a goal of transforming the library field and taking the torch from the Gates Foundation after the wind down of the Global Libraries program. I would like to tell you a little bit about the values that we share, and we build the partnership on these values. So we believe in the power of learning and knowledge sharing. We want to collaborate. We want to make this transformative process, and we want to build on transparency and inclusion and diversity as a sort of strength. So we see the libraries as engines of community development, and we want to see them as being community-driven and listening to communities and the community assets. And we want to see the library field stronger and more connected than ever. And to do that, I will tell you briefly about some new initiatives and projects that will be focusing on knowledge sharing and networking, impact and advocacy, research and innovation, and innovation and mapping the library field. So we're different, but we believe this is our strength. So IFLA is the global voice of the library profession. It's a trusted global voice representing interests of libraries on the global scene. So PLA, the Public Library Association, develops practical solutions to challenges libraries facing and spread that through the field. And the Technology and Social Change Group at the University of Washington Information School, TASHA, bridges a number of disciplines connecting libraries to other fields and global academic setting. So now Rebecca from TASHA will tell you what does it really mean for IFLA, PLA, and TASHA to collaborate. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Rafał. I'm Rebecca Sears with the Technology and Social Change Group at the University of Washington Information School. And what does it mean to collaborate? If you had asked IFLA, PLA, and TASHA 2 years ago, we would have told you it looks something like this, a still picture. In the last year, however, as we've been moving from planning to implementing, collaboration just got real. What I share with you today are our early practical collaboration experiences, how we're moving from idea to action, and our very early learnings. or how we're turning that still picture into a moving one. Now, since we set out on this journey some 2 years ago, and over many meetings, and meetings about meetings, and side meetings, we've come to believe that collaboration isn't just another word for partnership, but that it is the process that will lead to the results we want to achieve. It's come to mean the way we can accomplish more together than any one of us could alone. Collaboration has come to mean learning together and from each other, changing our activities and organizations, and sharing everything from effort and budget to benefits and, yes, risks. What's required for us to successfully achieve all this learning and changing and sharing? Well, those who've gone before us say 3 things. Time. It takes time and effort to develop a good working collaboration, especially at first. It's going to take longer to complete tasks while with others participating and contributing. More we is needed and less me. When all partners are contributing to and benefiting from the partnership, that is success. If there's an imbalance, the process of working together will suffer. And trust among partners is required. It allows partners to share benefits and resources and to take challenges together. This includes both character trust and competency trust. Now, knowing these characteristics of success is important, but only gets us so far. How do we turn idea into action? What do we do? Well, as I'm sure you can imagine, we set about answering this question with many sessions with Post-its and flip charts and timelines and even some Lego, where we were co-designing and mapping out an array of procedures, and then we came to our senses and decided to take a learn-by-doing approach, to make just enough decisions to get our current shared work done, and to embed practices of collaboration in our shared work. Here's what that's meant so far. Strategically, we created a shared vision, where we're going. We took time to develop shared values, what we believe, and guiding principles for how we act on our beliefs. That last one has been key. Tactically, we set up a communication and sharing infrastructure that was just good enough, also known as Google Docs and Slack. We're working in a series of smaller cross-partner groups around shared projects and cross-cutting themes such as data and leadership. And we're always bringing our people together whenever we can for making those important personal connections and creating shared history together. And what have we learned? Well, 4 early reflections to share with you today. First, our investment in taking the time to develop a shared vision, values, and especially guiding principles is paying off. It provides us with a common language and reference point to act from. Time. It takes even more than we'd initially planned. Self-reflection, partner reflection, and a culture of learning truly does take time. Timelines. We're all impatient for results and change. Tight timelines can make it harder to choose the longer path at first, to include meaningful participation and contribution. And finally, discipline is required. Collaboration is like a set of muscles that we're just learning how to use together, and if we don't keep up with our practices, our collaborative fitness suffers. So I'd like to close today by sharing a question with you, something that we'd love to reflect on together. How might collaboration play a role in transforming public libraries and the library field? Because we believe this practice really gets interesting when we look beyond this partnership or any others and look at it as a field, as a partnership ecosystem. It makes us giddy thinking about the opportunities for making even bigger impacts for public libraries and their communities around the world and together. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Allen. I'm a deputy director at the Public Library Association, which is part of the American Library Association in Chicago. And I'm excited to talk to you today, although you've heard it's taken over 2 years to plan what's going to be 10 plus years of activity, and I have 5 minutes to present it to you. So wish me luck. So you've heard a lot about the ingredients that have come together to form this partnership. I like to think about it like sausage, though. You never really want to think too hard or see what goes into it. You just want that tasty outcome. So that's what I get to tell you is what's in it for you. And when I say you, I'm talking about the public library field. All through the development of this work, we continually had to remind ourselves that we wanted to have a field focus. We wanted to think about what you need to get your work done in your library, but also what we could learn from you because we know you're the experts. And that's the first thing that's happening in this partnership. We want to hear from you. IFLA is working on its global vision process, answering the question, how does a united library field meet the challenges of the future? So there are opportunities for you, no matter where you are, to contribute to this process. Go online, give your input, attend a meeting in your community, and tell IFLA what you think the future holds. Because together, we create the future. And once we know what that future looks like, it's our partnership's job to develop tools and strategies that are going to help you meet those needs. One of the very first areas that we've already started working on is measuring impact and outcome for libraries. We know that's critical to the future and it's critical for you. PLA has a project called Project Outcome. It's helping US libraries use simple tools to measure outcomes in their core service areas, but more importantly, it's helping library staff understand the difference between outputs and outcomes. And we want this type of work to spread throughout the world, because we really believe that once all the libraries are measuring their impacts and outcomes, we can make a strong case for how libraries are the future and can change the world. But measuring your library's impacts is only one piece of the puzzle for you. You also need to be able to communicate those impacts out to the stakeholders in your community to get them to support your library. And that's leadership, which is another critical area for this partnership. We want you to be leaders not just in your library, but also in your community. PLA, again, has a leadership model that focuses on personal leadership, institutional leadership, and community-based leadership. And we want to create more pathways like that for you to be leaders in your community. We're currently working with the African Library Associations to work on training in Africa, but we're not just giving them tools and saying, go have fun. We're actually co-creating with them. We're rebuilding our own leadership training to make it work in Africa. And that's critical because co-creating and networking and collaborating is another major focus of this partnership. We want to make that easier for you. IFLA is going to be setting up an online hub that helps world leaders across the world connect to each other on common issues and areas of interest. And we really believe that that's going to lead to more innovation. When you work together, you come up with great ideas, and those ideas change the world. Tasha is really taking the lead on the research and innovation aspect of the partnership. They're going to be looking at actionable research and innovations that can spread throughout the library world, but not just throughout the library world. We also want to expose those ideas and those innovations to partners in other sectors like health, education, workforce development, government, so that they can see the power of libraries. So that's all part of the partnership's mission. This is a lot of stuff. And we are not strong enough right now to do this work. So we're going to be exercising our muscles. We're going to be building on the capacity work that Rebecca started talking about making time for each other, learning how to work together, aligning our values. All of that's going to make us stronger organizations, because a strong library field deserves strong library champions. And it's not just IFLA, PLA, and Tasha. We feel like this is work that we need to bring all the library support organizations into. We're developing things like partnership maps that help us figure out what are our strengths versus other library organization strengths, and how can we work together. IFLA is also going to be continuing its work to build strong library associations all around the world. So when we bring all these groups together, we feel like we will be able to support you, the public library field, with more consistent messages and more opportunities to grow. And all this work is interconnected. You need to understand your own library's impacts to be able to lead your community, and then you need to enhance those impacts by being innovative. And this work happens best when we all work together. So what can you do now? You can participate in IFLA's global visioning process. You can commit to a path of leadership. You can learn how to measure your library's impacts, and you can share your innovations with us. And most of all, you can work with us and with each other, because all this work will be best done when we work together. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jacob, and I'm from Gladsaxe Libraries. I'm library director, and I'm also part of the IFLA Public Library section. And I feel a bit daunted standing here right now because people have been talking about very serious things, and I'm going to talk to you about a playground. So let's see how it goes. I'm going to tell you about a playground built around the concept of the best of Nordic literature, the best of Nordic children's literature. When we open up our institutions, the outside areas become more important. The municipality, to have people cross that threshold into the library, we need to have something outside to pull them in. So, right outside our library, we had this great lawn, 3,500 square meters, and it was empty. But now we have this great playground which provides new opportunities to learn while playing. It's built around 4-meter tall books that you can play inside. Basically, we're inviting children to play inside the stories. We wanted to have that physical connection between the inside of the library and the outside. And we wanted to give the children cues, little teasers, spoilers you can say, about the literature that would inspire them to read, inspire them to open the world of literature by themselves or with their parents. So the playground is both a tool and a venue to create different activities that supports early literacy, together with children, families, daycares, institutions, and preschools. And this has really been the point, that we wanted not to come as a library and tell the different learning institutions how to do things. We collaborate with them. We create learning materials with them, and we make sure that it is fitted to the different levels of learning. In the playground, there's an e-wall. The e-wall is perfect in actually engaging the children. In the day-to-day, it's based around actually you can just move around, touching, doing different plays. But there's also an app connected so that the teachers can actually ask questions about the playground so that the children will run out, find the spoilers inside the books, and then come back and press the right button. This is really important because in Denmark we believe that different children learn in different ways. Some need physical cues, some need moving around. They all need to be inspired to learn in different ways. In Gladsaxe, we have a strategy on early effort. Basically, it states that there's a huge difference in the vocabulary of children. If you come from a challenged areas, you'll know a lot fewer words than privileged children do. So what we are actually doing now with the daycares and institution is creating a project called My Story. So the children get to explain their story. They get to, through collaboration with a music school, with the schools, with the daycares, they get to tell their own story, and we connect it to the playground. So they get to move around, learn, play, and we also create different educational activities where children are encouraged to use the literary worlds and characters or book titles in a new and playful context. There's this story where the child is throwing his father into the tree. I won't tell you which, because that's basically the point. So of course, we go out and do different competitions, and the children actually get to throw a doll up into the tree, and that inspires them to go back and read these stories. So it is key that we develop these learning activities in a way that they're fitted to the children, but also that they're self-explainable. We want the playground to work while we are not there. So sometimes we host big events, concerts, theaters, or make creative spaces. So basically, we're using the outside of the library in the same way as the inside of the library. But most of the time, we just invite families, daycares, schools to add their own activities. They actually add more content to our library garden. So by hosting this, right now we are doing children's birthdays, geocaching, treasure hunting, but always keeping at the center, the core of the library, which is the joy of reading and the joy of reading children's literature together. To answer the question of what kind of activities we present in the public space, well, we're still learning, we're still testing. It's only been there for a year right now, and we're playing together with our visitors. And right now, I'm inviting you to come and play with us inside the stories with the children. Thank you.
Okay. In the year 1999, my little library had a bunch of children's programs. They had only 3 programs for adults. In the year 2016, we had 1,064 programs. I'm Uma, and I'm going to tell you my little story and try and ignite you in the next 5 minutes. Okay. Once upon a time, as you know, humans are storytellers, and we have the rare privilege of being guardians of centuries' worth of stories. In my story, I'm heading towards the point where we are not only guardians at this point, we are also catalysts. So once upon a time, there was a wondrous library. And in the next slide, you're going to see my wondrous library, but I want you to imagine your own. Does the slide change? I think I'm stuck. Oh, just push it. Okay, so that's my main library. And as we just heard, we have used up the space at the back in the last 6 years. That's part of the library. It's the garden and a learning commons, a maker space, a 17-room mansion next to the library where we try and create. But as I said, I want you all to think of your own wondrous libraries because these are the spaces that are no longer just a repository of books. I think the book is the most perfectly designed invention ever created by us. However, the whole concept of shelves and shelves and shelves of books is no longer the case. This, by the way, is an actual library up in the Appalachian Mountains. I find it the most touching picture we serve. So it's not just a simple repository of books, but a vibrant, vibrant community space. And come on, in the last 36 hours, we have been in the cathedral of community space. I personally have had a religious experience over here. So we are community spaces. We need to recognize it. And the other thing is it's community space for lifelong learning. What a seductive phrase. Which other institution can offer lifelong learning from birth to death? I put this because there's a child here, there's an adult here, but we're both learning at any stage of life. And that's what the library offers. Who said that today? Philip. The fact that you never fail at the library. We are so perfectly positioned to encourage people right through life. Which is what I think over the years, as I said, over 1,000 programs, and our budget did not change. That was the critical part. Our budget did not change. So what you just talked about, partnerships and collaboration that Rebecca was talking about, is literally what we have been doing, making us a very trusted space. I'm going to use this concept again and again because it has taken centuries of librarians to make the word library like mom and apple pie in America. I don't know what the equivalent is in Denmark, but it's a warm and fuzzy feeling in your stomach. You stick a mic in front of somebody and you say, what do you think of your library? They say, I love it. I mean, nobody says, I hate libraries. I don't know if they give money, but they do love it. So we are a trusted space. Take advantage of that. We've taken advantage, as I said, by bringing in free programming. Anyone who comes in, I remind them that if they have had a cup of coffee this morning, they've already spent far more than they have for all library services for an entire month. So we take advantage of that, and we crowdsource. We share our knowledge. And if you forget everything that I say in the next 5 minutes, this is the one truth that we have held on to in our library, which is that each of us has a skill. I don't care who you are and where you've come from. I could be from a hut in India. I have a skill, and you have a skill. And we're going to take advantage of those skills because, again, we're humans. We like to share. We like to share, and we have skills. So new forms of information-seeking behavior. It's like when you go and buy a coat online. What do? You read up 60 different anonymous reviews and say, oh, I'm going to buy this because 20 people liked it. You don't know these people. You haven't gone to the great guru of jackets to find out. What you've done is you've crowdsourced. So there's this fabulous new form of information seeking that I think we as librarians need to capitalize on. Oh, this came up. So as I said, we think of everyone as an expert, but let's try and bring it down to staff experts, community, subject, and collaborative. The next few slides will play on that a bit. Staff experts. Who is the most intimate user of your library? It is your staff. I put it out here because this is Kathy. Her job description says, check out books. Her real skill is in the crafts. She started a knitting group with 4 people. We now have 40 to 60 people knitting, quilting, beading, embroidery. Her army has just kept growing. The community has got more inclusive. And what has she done with this? They do everything. They've made 200 preemie quilts that they distribute in the hospitals. They put the library logo, so we get a lot of good, positive feedback. All right, so staff skills, never underestimate. Community agencies. We're a small town. We have a lot of small businesses who'd like to get their word out. I'm giving you just one example, which is the activity stuff, yoga, tai chi, martial arts. Each of them wants their word out. They give us 1 free program a month. We give them free publicity. They get new customers. They're delighted. We're delighted. Once again, collaboration. Whew. I thought 5 minutes was shorter. Subject experts. We have at least 20 of these groups that have formed around a certain subject. I have become now a subject expert of traveling to Aarhus. So when I go back next month, I will say what airline I took, what hotel I stayed in, how much it cost, what wonderful food I had, the exact food, and before you know it, 20 people from my town are going to be visiting here because I'm the subject expert and I've told them exactly what to do. So as I said, build upon that. Anyone who comes into our library and essentially if they start checking out a book on bonsai and they're talking knowledgeably about it, we invite them in and say, give a program. Okay, next one is, tell me if I'm overrunning, is groups and clubs. This is a little more organization that's required. These usually cost money. As I said, our budget hasn't changed. For adult programming, we have all of $2,000. This group alone would cost me $600 for a music program. So what do we do instead? We gather people who are interested in a subject in music. And we say, you're responsible. You go do the fundraising. We'll give you the space. We'll give you the publicity. And your neighbors will appreciate you. And it gets filmed on local cable, so everybody gets to hear about it. So that's how we've managed a whole bunch of clubs and groups and activities. And with all this, I don't know if this is a peculiarly American saying, but I love it. It's like a big bang for a really small dollar. And this is what we've been able to do, as I said, in the past 7 years, which has allowed us to apply for, oh, Deborah's not here, but the Gates Foundation and the Library Journal, Best Small Library in America. We haven't won it, but we've won finalist position twice in 5 years. We're delighted. All right, so you get a big bang. I have two sort of a little more boring slides on assessment and evaluation, but I did want to put it out there because the fun part is doing the programming. The fun part is talking about it, creating flyers, creating a buzz. But assessment and evaluation, if you think of yourself back at 17 when you were dating, you're constantly assessing and evaluating. You're all experts. You need to do that again because, as I said, you are a trusted space. You need to hold on to that trust with superior programming. So don't forget assessment, don't forget evaluation. When I'm at the back, I've actually added this. We have a textbook on reference for this edition that's coming out in December, we've added programming as a really critical part of reference, as a new definition of reference services. So come and take a copy of this, get it for your library, because that's got more details on all the assessment evaluation parts. And when you do that, you know that you have created a life of learning for your community. And how do stories end? So that your entire community can live? Of course, the end.
Congratulations. Good morning, good day. Good morning, I'm Esther Romelia, I come from Barcelona. I will also talk about impact evaluation, and I will talk about the impact evaluation project of one of our projects in the library network, which is technology empowerment, looks for technology empowerment for people over 55 years. Shall we start? Okay, as you can see, this project is shared by many institutions. You can see it on the slide below. I will talk about that. Okay, I will talk about the province of Barcelona, where my library network is. The province of Barcelona has 311 municipalities. In Spain, generally, we have a lot of municipalities, and the inhabitants are similar than in Denmark. I work for the regional government. We hold a library network, a huge library network of 235 libraries and 10 mobiles. And we give support to municipalities, to city councils, to provide the library services. Some figures here. We serve a community of over 2.7 million users. We are that's very fast. The huger community, we are bigger than Barcelona Football Club. My institution has a strong tradition and evaluation. We manage lots of data. 5 million data are included every year. Yeah, we deal with a lot of data, but we wanted to take a step forward 4 years ago, and we make a social value study and also economical return. We identified 15 potential benefits of public libraries. And in this context, we are now engaged into impact evaluation studies. The first one is finished, but we are now also studying the impact of easy reader clubs, which is very important for us. I will talk about the technology empowerment courses that has finished, they studied. We try to bring information and communication technologies closer to people. Yes, and we wanted to measure 3 dimensions. First of all, the increment of users of internet. Yeah. Second, the users of the library, if they had increase it, and also if they from the social point of view, if they feel better. We use a specific methodology we called contrafactual. I don't know if you know this methodology. It's very specific for impact. You can see our results. We have increased, they increased the users of internet, and many users have increased, but we also have identified challenges. I will talk later on if someone is interested. And to share some reflections with you and challenges, I share the idea that you have already talked about, that we need to do such a studies to better communicate citizens the benefits of libraries. As you can see, there are many institutions engaged. Evalua is a reference institute for evaluating public policies, because the methodology is very hard for us. I mean, it's the first time that we deal with such a methodology, but we have studied together. We have done it together with this institute. I will be pleased to share more challenges afterwards with you. And I invite you to use the results of this study and other studies for you to communicate results of your library. Thank you very much for listening.
Hello, I'm Story Bellows, and this is David Giles, and we're from Brooklyn Public Library, and want to share our approach to leading an urban library system, provisional practice.
Story and I both have a background in urban policy and design and come at our work in the library from that context. We've both been really impressed by the potential role libraries have in a wide variety of different policy areas. For instance, in 2012, New York City was devastated by a hurricane, and libraries played a really important role in responding to and recovering from that event. As you can see in this map, there are 74 different libraries inside evacuation zones and 75 different libraries outside of those zones.
We don't just want to be reactive in our response to social policy issues. We must be proactive in our communities. And for us, this means moving from a transactions-based business to a relations-based business. The first step is offloading much of the transactional work. Like many of you, we have automated touch points, self-check machines, kiosks, and the largest library processing facility in the United States.
The next step is to reset expectations for our staff, redefine roles, build new competencies, and expand our capacity to do human capital and community development work. This is doubly important in Brooklyn. A top-down, one-size-fits-all approach will not work in such a big city. Our staff have to be responsive to different needs in very different neighborhoods, including artists and entrepreneurs in some parts of Brooklyn, and immigrants in entrenched poverty in others.
Our projects fall into 5 buckets. The first is using data for decision-making. Traditionally, we've just used data for reporting to agencies and funders, but now we're working to provide staff at all levels skills and easy-to-use tools, like this branch snapshot. We don't want every branch defining success the same way, so we've captured multiple metrics to enable staff to better understand what's driving activity in their branch and where else they may look for similar branches. We also have operational data like hourly visits, and importantly, demographic dashboards to help staff better see their communities, where an Arabic population may be emerging or where educational attainment may be dropping.
Building new skills and competencies is another area of focus for us. Much of our staff haven't been trained to do community-focused work, and many haven't seen it as a part of their job description. We've been doing workshops with staff on opportunity mapping, project management, partner management, and program design. And we've discovered that you have to dig really deep psychologically. This is a worksheet on adopting a growth mindset, getting people to see that learning and growing in your job is critical and dealing with ambiguity is okay. We use lots of sticky notes, and we do lots of yoga.
Our third area of focus is supporting collaboration across our branches. Traditionally, we've had a really hierarchical operating model, our 58 branches acting like satellites revolving around a single mothership. Our goal is for these branches to work directly together, learning, experimenting, and giving them a stronger voice. So we're creating a structure with 5 networks, asking branches to use data, intuition, and their interests to decide which demographic or performance-focused network they want to join.
Expanding our tolerance for risk is yet another important goal for us. We're a fairly large bureaucratic organization with over 1,300 employees, and people tend to get really freaked out by risk. Part of creating risk tolerance, ironically, is setting clear boundaries. We often come back to this one anecdote of a social science study on playgrounds. The study found that when there are no fences, kids stick close to the school. And when there are clear boundaries, they spread out and become more adventurous. Our Brooklyn Incubator program creates a safe space for experimentation. There's a competition in which staff work with community partners to design new programs, and a $75,000 innovation fund. Staff pitch their ideas in a public setting with a panel of judges.
Much of our work has been focused internally, but to fully realize the potential of the library, we must signal our change publicly to heighten our role and demonstrate our impact in our communities. In January, we hosted a night of philosophy and ideas, where more than 7,000 people chose to spend their Saturday night, all night, in the library, not only drinking and dancing, but debating some of the most critical questions of our time. This is provisional practice in Brooklyn.
Hey, hello, I'm Anna-Maria from the Central Library of Helsinki project, and it's called Oodi, the name of the Central Library. So when I'm talking about Oodi, you know that I refer to the new Central Library. And here I'm talking about how we a little bit thought to understand why we need new digital services and where we just are very happy with the existing ones. The whole society is rapidly digitalized, and it confuses both the staff, the customers, and the decision makers also. People are frequently asking me how many books we'll have there in Oodi. The right answer is about 100,000 books, but is it a real question in these days? Is it the customers who wants to learn and face new interesting happenings, interesting things, opinions, people we have to think about? The place where all our customers will benefit digitalization most is the signage, which we have been planning together with different user groups like old people, young people, immigrants, and people with disabilities. Of course, the customers find the digital services before they come to the library at all from web pages. But in the library, when they come, the info screens are the places where they see the digital elements, and we think not to have any blinking there. Digital services are already very well known in the main library services like virtual information, and we are not very keen about those things anymore, like lending machines and so on. We have just now an innovative competition going on robotics in library, and we like to find solutions on 4 categories: logistics, information services, accommodations, and children's services. The logistics is mainly the one which we can have huge savings, but it's also the most obvious one. But then the library Oodi is located opposite the Parliament House, and that's why we are very interested to find solutions where we can maybe have government data somehow displayed in an interesting way. And then recommendation services is one way to think digitalize and robotics, but perhaps in a different way than Amazon does it. And children's services, the cute robots are seen here in Doc 1, but we are more interested to find a solution where the child must somehow concentrate what he's doing. And robotics are, of course, also digital tools for learning. E-materials we have all in libraries, of course, but they are not visible in physical spaces, and we like to do it more in visible way. we have planned already with a virtual reality application, and it's really exciting to walk inside a building which don't exist yet. Of course, the work itself is changing, but we have still so many customers who don't like to read any e-book. The majority of our customers don't like. And we are thinking if the mobile applications maybe replace the human labor sometime, but it's not the time yet because so many of our customers still need help with these new digital services. IoT is one thing which we have been thinking a lot. What kind of sensors we can make maybe under the seats to see how many seats we have occupied in a library. And booking spaces or resources, we have a new booking system which is now used in other libraries in Finland too. But the main thing is not how we work in the library, but to get the politicians, decision makers understand what's the role in the new library, what kind of new things we have in library. Here is our president, Sauli Niinistö, who was visiting in Library 10 last autumn. And I welcome you all to the new Central Library in December 18. Thank you.
Good morning. I am Stacy Ledden. I am the Director of Innovations and Brand Strategy for Anythink Libraries. We're the public library system for Adams County, just north of Denver.
And I'm Erica Grossman. I am a creative lead at Anythink.
Yeah, we're here today to talk about Outside the Lines. So despite all of the incredible work that we've seen at Dock 1 and elsewhere the past few days, libraries around the world are facing some significant challenges. So that leads us to ask the question, what would a world without libraries look like? People would be sad, they'd be lonely, they'd be angry and confused. Where would they go to learn, to be inspired, and to connect with each other? But all joking aside, libraries really, face some realistic threats. In the UK, hundreds of libraries the past few years have closed. Almost 8,000 library jobs have been cut there. And this map shows libraries that were forced to close, were threatened with closure, or were saved from closure. In the US, the current administration is threatening to cut federal funding to organizations like the Institute for Museum and Library Services. This would have devastating effects on small and rural libraries, places where people need them the most. We still face so many outdated perceptions too. Gone are the days of the shushing librarians and the dusty shelves. And yet there are people out there that still ask that question, why do we need libraries when we have the internet? We need libraries because they help build strong communities. This is where people go to get job resources, early literacy skills, and endless ideas. So how do we bridge that gap of understanding? Let's not just tell people how libraries have changed, let's show them.
And how do we show them? We have got to get creative. We can no longer rely on old ideas. We must be bold and innovative. Creative thinking will move us forward and shatter those outdated perceptions. Now, you may not always have the money, you may not always have the resources, but you have the best asset out there, your staff. Your staff are creative, they understand your community, they understand your goals. Use them to come up with creative solutions. Reframing and retelling your story is vital to your community understanding the relevance of libraries. What do you think they know about you? Do they even know about you? It's our job to show them, because if you don't tell your story, someone else will. We also have to go to where the people are. We can no longer just sit around and expect folks to walk through our doors unprompted. Instead, we should be meeting people in the places where they live, work, play, commute. For example, have you thought about hosting a program at the train station, or a farmer's market, or a local business? The possibilities are endless. When we step outside of the library walls, we adapt to our communities and become active members of them.
In June 2013, a group of Colorado library directors got together to discuss the sense of urgency that they felt in shifting perceptions of libraries. We decided we needed to do something now, and we needed to create something that would be applicable to all different kinds of libraries. This inspired Outside the Lines, a global initiative designed to engage people in creative ways. During 1 week in September, libraries that participate create an event that represents their local community. For the past 4 years, we've had libraries all over the world participate, from Canada to Africa to right here in Aarhus, each one tailoring their event to their local community. By participating, they have reinvigorated their staffs, they've reached new audiences, they've built new partnerships, and they've garnered some incredible headlines. But most importantly, they've helped put libraries at the forefront of people's minds.
For example, here in Aarhus, they took the Moby Mobile Library out into the community. They offered their services along with a warm cup of coffee. And by doing this, they were able to get into new neighborhoods and meet new people. In Freeport, New York, 125 people gathered at a junkyard to explore local history through trivia and slideshows. Surrounded by guard dogs and hubcaps, they brought a whole junkyard to life just by sharing stories of what it meant to be from Freeport. At Anythink, we hosted a series of block parties to better understand our communities. We even went to a brand new housing development and had a dog party. And this was a really fun way for us to show everybody what the library has to offer. We also provided an opportunity for neighbors to get to know each other. So strangers sat down and asked each other questions like, what was your first job? Or who is your hero? These strangers left as friends, proof that the library can be the community connector.
We need our communities, and our communities need us. And when one library succeeds, we all succeed. We invite you to be a part of the Outside the Lines movement, and let's show the world the impact that libraries can make together.
Thank you. And thank you to all of our speakers. That was very, very interesting. And we have one more surprise that I announced before we started. It is the Joy of Reading award winner that was announced yesterday that I would like to welcome up on stage. Exactly. Mignon Hardy, please come up on stage. And afterwards, all of our speakers will be at the end back and to answer your questions. Thank you.
Little technology failure here. Sorry. Nope. Okay, that one is there. Let's just do slideshow. There. No.
It's because it wants to mirror the screen.
Yeah. Maybe try mirror share.
There we go. This should work. It's down there. There we go.
Yay, we got it. Well, very nice to be here. And while I might be a surprise to you, this is also a little bit of a surprise to me. So bear with me. I'll do my best to keep it into the 5 minutes and the 15-second slides. So I'm from South Africa. We've got a major education crisis where we've got young people who are not getting the functional literacy skills that they need in order to find employment and to be active agents in the world. You can see just some of these stats here. We're trying to change this. We're trying to make reading something which is possible, something which is pleasurable, and something which is a vital part of people's lives. it's so important that people do have access to books and that they can actually read as well, because the more that people acquire those skills, the faster that they are reading and that the more frequently that they're reading, the more that they are able to acquire the skills that they really need. So this is our virtuous reading cycle. And what we really are worried about is reading enjoyment, because if we can get people to enjoy reading, then it fills in all of those other gaps. So what we're doing is we're supporting reading groups across our country with physical books and pocket booklets. We've delivered more than 100,000 books and 200,000 pocket booklets to schools and reading groups and libraries around the country. Most importantly, it's about the content. It's high interest content, things that people actually want to read, stories that reflect their lives and make people feel that that it's possible for them to become readers, and that the situations that they're reading about are something that they can relate to. But we've also got a library on a phone, and this is really where we're reaching most of our young readers. It's a thing that they have in their pocket all the time, and we can reach thousands of people that way. The most important thing is making sure that there's content on that phone, and because we've got all the stats, we can start to see what actually makes a difference. What do people want to read because of the information that we get from the data? So we can see relatable stories are very important, exciting plots, things that make people want to carry on reading. But it's not just about that. We also think that stories have the powerful objective of being able to change attitudes and challenge social norms. So we've run stories, for instance, around, this was about a young girl, a lesbian girl who was growing up in a township, and her coming of age story. We've done things with the UNHCR as well, looking at refugees and how can you use stories as a way to promote tolerance and understanding. And you can see some of these comments coming up here about what it must be like to flee. We've also run a rights project, so looking at our constitution and our Bill of Rights and seeing how can we use stories to promote positive messages and to provide information to people in a way that's incredibly entertaining and makes people think that that's relevant. The Bill of Rights is not something, a dusty document, but it's actually something which is relevant to me. But most importantly, it's about our stories and about the readers' stories, making them feel that they can relate to the content and that it reflects their lives. So we've got a writing program as well, and thousands of people have actually been published through that and get their own voices celebrated and their own stories told. One of the comments that comes out of this is about the confidence that people feel when they see their story being read and liked and enjoyed by others. One of the important things as well is to give positive feedback, and we always try and be encouraging with our writers to make sure that they continue writing and they carry on practicing, and we try and provide them with that sort of support, and very talented ones go through mentorship programs as well. Every year we survey our readers and we try and get feedback from them about what sort of impact is reading having on their lives. And the biggest impact is around that big thing, personal development. But it's also about a window on the world and the changes in attitudes. These are just some comments that are coming up, and it's maybe too fast for you to read them properly, but there are little messages in all of these. The one was about changes in attitudes to reading itself. That was the first slide here. But how stories teach us about life. And I love this quote because it says, and I become this amazing person now. And that's kind of what we want people to feel, that they are amazing and that they can become amazing people because they are readers. The next one here, and this is around empathy and promotion of tolerance as well, and this idea about forgiveness. And people are really beginning to reflect on their own lives and the way that they have power to sort of change things as well through the stories that they read. They can get opportunities to see how things can be done differently. And I thought you'd love this last one, which is around getting the library card. She's become so inspired to read that now she's going to go out and get a library card too. But also about reading to relax, because it was another thing that came up. So many young people are living incredibly stressful lives, and stories give you that opportunity to step outside just a little bit and have an opportunity to relax. So if you'd like to find out more, please come and pay me a visit. It would be great to chat. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mignon.